Well, I'll call the meeting to order at 6:03 and start with attendance. Michael,
Here.
Meg,
Present.
Helene, I don't think is with us just yet. Sarah,
Here.
welcome, Sarah. Maribel, I'm not sure if she's here yet. Mary,
Yes, hello. Here.
welcome. And then Jason, here. So we've got 5, we've got a quorum. And we'll hope to see Helene and or Maribel later on today. We do have a good full agenda. So agenda item number 1 was review and approve minutes from the March meeting. Did anybody have any questions or concerns there?
Well, the only thing was that there was supposed to be something added to the end. I suppose it's not that important, but it was the fire truck letter. And it says in the minutes that it'll be added to the minutes, but it wasn't there. So I didn't have a copy, but I think it was supposed to be added.
Okay. Fire truck letter. And that was supposed to be, what was that specifically?
Okay,
Fire.
so the fire truck gave a report in a letter form.
Yes.
You read it into the thing, but
That's
into
right.
the minutes, but I didn't type it into the minutes because I didn't know what all that it said. So it was supposed to be attached to the minutes. So I don't know. I suppose at some point, just
Yes, it was an email. I can actually it was a text message that he sent me, and I can send it to everyone via email, just so everyone has the contents of it if there's any questions or.
Okay, I didn't realize
Add them
that.
to the minutes too. If I can just add, cut and paste what you send out and put it into the minutes.
Sounds good.
Perfect. And we'll do that. So, did we just get another person here too?
Helene's here. Hi.
Helene, welcome, Helene. Sorry, Helene, I'm on my cell phone. My computer was acting weird, so if I seem a little bit like I'm staring into the camera, that's what it is. So, Helene, welcome. I'm going to mark you in as present. All right. So, I just would like we'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as drafted. Is there a second on that?
I second it.
All right, thank you. And just a roll call on that. Michael?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Helene?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
And Jason, yes. Thank you, Mary, for that. We appreciate those excellent minutes. So agenda item number 2 is sort of a number of agenda items. It's Naomi has been doing just a lot of different stuff for us, doing a lot of great work. And I think just as part of our process, we're talking about, I apologize there, sorry. Just having a place for Naomi to sort of come in and give the committee an update on all the work that she's getting done and allow the committee, just to ask questions and make sure that everybody's understanding the processes that we're going through and things of that nature. So, Naomi, did you want to take it ahead with a couple of these? I mean, certainly item 2A, I think would be interesting.
Simple. Let me share.
And I think if you want to just give the context of that.
Yeah. So, so I sent out award letters to the recipients, and I didn't have any letterhead. There was letterhead. Let me just make that bigger. Hold on. There was letterhead on Amy's files, but it was hard to work with. It was a PDF file, and honestly, it was hard to read the heading. It just wasn't workable. So I created a letterhead. I created 2 letterheads. One, because I hadn't talked to anybody in the committee, is simple without the committee members. But then I also created this one. And in my world of the not-for-profit world and the community action world, you usually put the committee names on the letterhead. So that's very common in my world. So I just did it here, and it's really up to you guys if you want that. We could go with the blank one, which looks, I don't have it open to share, but it's just like this with this piece gone. So that's about it. And all I did was use our logo and, some nice colors. So I just wanted to share that and see if you guys were okay with the letterhead with the committee members, or if you'd rather have me do the plain letterhead.
Thank you so much, Naomi. Under discussion.
Naomi, it looks fine with as far as I'm concerned, the names are fine. That looks fine. Do you want to go to a printer and print these up? Is that the point of all this?
I'll just have it, I can share it with you guys, but I'm mostly just have it in my documents in the cloud. And anytime we have to write a letter, which isn't actually that
Okay.
often, I'll
That's
just
fine.
use this and yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything?
Perfect.
They
Any other
wanna say?
questions or concerns there?
Me.
Yeah, I think,
Looks nice.
Thank
yeah.
you.
I had a question around just if you could add an A in my first name. So it's
Yes.
MEAGAN. And then I wonder if the top part where it says Community Preservation Act, you want to add committee after that and then just like
Okay.
make it larger. So it
Yep,
kind of like justifies almost to the second line.
I just
Yeah, I think
X'd
it's
out of
great.
it, but okay. Spell Meg's name correctly.
You
That's
won't you won't
important.
be the first or the last.
Yeah.
So I go with Meg.
And then add the word committee.
Right. Well, that's why I started going by Meg professionally, and then also that happened politically because no one can mess up Meg, right? Versus Megan, it's like such a bizarre spelling. No one's gonna get that.
Well, I'm glad we put that to bed.
So that's done.
Yes.
The
Sorry, I'm
next,
just joining also on my
okay.
computer.
The next was contract updates, and I didn't know if people wanted to hear where we're at with the 6 contracts. So we have 2 that are signed and done, and those projects can start spending their money, and that's Glautech. I think there's going to be a pause on that because of the change in leadership at Parks and Rec, but that's contract is signed, and the stained glass windows. There are 2 that are in the solicitor's hands. The process, I mean, you probably already all know this better than I, but the process is that we work on the contract internally, then we share it with the solicitors and make sure that they're okay with it. And then we share it with the recipient just to make sure they are viewing it. Typically, the recipient doesn't have anything to add. Typically, the lawyers do. And then we take that final draft and we upload it into the Sign Now platform, and then they get signed. So currently, we have 2 done and 2 in the lawyer's hands. And I heard from Tashina that the YMCA one is almost done. And so that should be, and I know that Connor's already reviewed all of that. So we're just going to upload it and get signatures. And then Lawrence School is the same. They're reviewing the contract and the historic restriction agreement. And once they send that back to me clean, then I'll send it to who is it, Sean, that does the Lawrence School? Whoever it is, I'm going to send to him, and then we'll get it up for signature. The 2 that are still in the works being processed are both from One Holyoke. One is the tiny house, and we had that whole thing about maybe changing our procedure, but then that didn't go anywhere. Like they asked for that and then they didn't act on it. So now for the tiny house, Jay has been following up with Michael. So I don't know if you want to say anything, Jay, but essentially, I think the documents are in Alicia's hands. She's reviewing the affordability restriction, and she has to come up with a statement, whether it's just, she thinks it can be a statement on letterhead. I don't know what the attorneys think. It might have to be an MOU, but some statement saying that she's going to provide oversight. She's given verbal agreement to all of it. So it's just, she has to get those documents done and sent back to me. So that's in process. And then the Flats Community Building, Port Nairobi is waiting on the historic preservation doc. She wrote up a draft and asked for input, but hasn't gotten any. I mean, that input has to come from Michael. it's very drafty. And so I pointed that out and said, you guys are writing this, and then we'll share with our solicitors, but I can't write that agreement for them. So those two are still in process, but they're getting there.
Yeah. I just want to welcome Maribel to the meeting. Hey, hello, Maribel. Nice to see you. It's
Yes,
been a while.
welcome.
And yeah, just to sort of sum up, what Naomi just told us, it took about 783 emails to accomplish. So it's quite the process. It's not that much, but it's more than I realized, I think. And she's been doing a great job staying on it. So just in summation, 2 are signs, 2 we're waiting on the city solicitor, and 2 we're basically waiting on the grantee themselves. In other words, our side of the street has been swept clean. Like we've handled what we can handle, and we're just sort of waiting for the process. And just to make a note of it too, the solicitors have been great to us. Tashina has, she's not mailing it in. She's really reviewing this and giving us some strong feedback, and she's been very responsive, and Lisa as well. So I like to point that out. But the contract process is moving along, I think, really well, and we're on track to be have that all wrapped up maybe by next meeting. That it's really out of our hands, but I think that wouldn't be a surprise to me if next meeting we're sitting here with all our contracts signed and buttoned up. So thank you for that good work, Naomi, and for everybody that participates.
Being super nice to me because I reached a boiling point today with Munis and said, you should just get rid of me. I can't do this. So
No,
he's being especially nice to me. I'm fine, Jay. Don't worry.
thank you so much. Meg, I see your hand up.
Munis is the worst. It's not you. It's
It
Munis.
is.
It's hard and like not in any way intuitive. It's tedious. It's awful. Okay, on another subject. So the contracts. That's interesting because I think we're still figuring out this new process because, to be clear, in the past, the city solicitor was not an active participant in the
Yeah.
process.
Yes.
We were drafting them, we were sending them, and they were like, approved to form. Good, right? Like every now and then there might be something they would bring back to us, but usually there wasn't. So I guess one of my questions is just what happens when like the contract subcommittee meets, we discuss, we look at a draft, it goes to the applicant, then it goes to city solicitor. How do we make sure it comes back to the subcommittee to approve it? Because otherwise it has to come back to the full committee to be approved technically before it goes to
It's a
sign now.
requirement. That step has not been taken at all, Meg. I wasn't aware that was needed.
Well, because it used to be the subcommittee was the last step.
Yeah.
This year it shifted to like the first step and then went to the applicant and then to the city solicitor and then it didn't go back. So just making sure that either the full committee or the subcommittee has to approve the final contract before it comes back to sign now.
Yep. No, I think, yeah, that's exactly correct. And I will make sure to do that before I sign any contracts. Because number one, I appreciate the feedback, and number two, it prevents small sloppy mistakes. We catch these small little things that just, there's a volume of work that's being done here that's just certain small things might get missed, and the more eyes on these things, the better. So that's a great point by Meg, and that's my mistake, and that's something that I absolutely will do because that's good practice for us. So thank you for that.
I know when I went into the stained glass and the Glauchac, the two that have been finished, the Glauchac final, I can't see because it's saved as a PNG format. So it opens as an image. So you can't see past that initial screen. You can't scroll down into it. So if it's possible to put that up as a PDF, that would be great. The other one I can see, and that one does have the termination. Doesn't have the termination clause in it, but does have the scope of work clause in it. So I think the biggest thing is just making sure all the contracts moving forward need to have those two pieces that say that if a scope of change needs to happen, that it's in the sole discretion of the committee to decide it. If we don't have that line in it, then we have to send it to council. And that's just an obnoxious, long process to have to go through.
Yep.
And the second one is underneath termination, that section, we have to have that line around if they go beyond the 36 months and are requesting an extension, it's in the sole discretion of the committee that we can approve it. Again, otherwise we have to go back to council every time someone asks for an extension. So I do think it's important that we make sure that both of those get in there for all of the contracts moving forward. And we may also want to, I mean, I don't think that the stained glass project is going to go beyond 3 years, right? Like, I'm not so worried about that. I feel the same way about
Yep.
the Glatek one because they've already purchased the equipment and it's sitting in storage. So
Yes.
I'm not so worried about the two that we've already finished. But I think moving forward, we should make sure the language is in there just because it protects us and it makes our lives easier in the long run.
Yep. No, yeah, 100%.
Scope of work
100%.
one is done on all of them. That's in there. The going beyond the getting the extension, that was new to me. So I will make sure it's in all the rest of them. That's
Yep.
easy enough to do. Where did you open the contract that was a ping? Where was that?
Underneath the 2025 contracts folder.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So on the website?
I mean, I just have access to it. Is
In
it
the
underneath the
Google Drive.
internal section
In the
of
Google
the
Drive, yeah. Okay,
website
I'll
too?
look at that.
Because there's like a final contracts folder, and in
Yes.
that, I've been seeing that you've been putting in the final drafts.
Yeah. And we can extract that from Sign Now for sure. So
Yeah.
I know
We have a
we can.
PDF
Yeah.
and Sign Now for
Yeah.
sure.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's yeoman's work. I mean, this stuff is not easy. It's technical. It's a lot of back and forth, and asking anyone to do the contracts is not a light load. So thank you for all your work on this, Naomi.
Sure. Would it make sense for the contract subcommittee to meet once more and just clarify the process?
Yeah, the other option is like just as soon as you have what you're saying are like, these are the drafts that are ready to be looked at, you can just email it out to the committee, and then folks can either look at them and say, yes, we should meet, I have concerns, or like, Mike and I have done in the past, you're like, I've looked through them all, they look great.
Will do.
Perfect.
Okay, so
Somehow
the
I-
next,
Somehow
sorry.
I accidentally fixed my computer. I don't even know what I did. I hit a
yay.
button
Yay.
and it worked, so I'll take it. Yeah, I think item 2C, if it's all right with the committee, I'd like to push that into agenda item 3 and just sort of have one discussion about the preservation plan, if that's all right with everybody, and just move forward to the financial update. So, the financial component is just, it's not incredibly complex, but there's just a lot of moving parts to it, and there's a lot, we have redundant tracking. So we have Munis, and then we have an Excel spreadsheet, which also tracks our year over year finances. And so Naomi's just been doing a great job of the last 6 months, really coming to understand that, working with Tanya, the city auditor, and working with Daniel, our financial consultant, to just understand, how that works and how our, what our systems are. And I think they've made a lot of great progress. So Naomi was just going to give an update on the reconciliation and then just kind of where we stand. And I think you created a spreadsheet. Perfect. So, and this isn't new information. This is, I'm sure that we've shared this information. Essentially, we have a surplus from, I think it should actually be FY25 budget. It says 24, but it's FY25.
Daniel, oh, I see. You're
Yeah.
right. The different, no, actually, the 122 is the overages from FY24. So that was like carrying interest, I think, a lot of it. Well, you can see here on the, is that small for you guys? Are you guys seeing it okay?
Yeah, it zoomed in a bit.
I can't quite tell what you're seeing, so.
Yeah, so this is our FY25 budget. And so, as you can see, we did get a substantial amount of money from interest on our general fund. The state match was a little bit higher, and then the surcharge revenue was higher. There's a $3,500 figure other income, which we're actually trying to track down what that specifically is and what it came from. But it's budget season at City Hall right now, so everybody's just extremely busy, and we actually weren't able to get an answer to that question, but we've been digging on it. So, but that's just where that money came from, and we just wanted to explain that. And Naomi, I didn't know if you wanted to talk about the reconciliation though, also.
The slideshow, but I don't know the Google version very well. So the question that I have a number of questions for Tanya. And she and I have been trying to meet and we haven't met. She had to cancel one, I had to cancel one. Now she's in the budget process. So that's going to happen in about 10 days. And so one of the questions I have is that the interest income, the 71,000, that is actually left over from FY24. And Daniel is of the opinion that because it's on our CP1, that the DOR has approved the use of that money. But he said you got to double check that with Tanya. So I'm just trying to hear from her that that money is available to us and how we access it. Then the reconciliation that Jay is talking about, are you guys done with this slide? Can I stop the share? Okay. The reconciliation has to do with Munis's record of our expenses and income versus this massive spreadsheet that Andrew, what was Andrew's last name, Jay?
Andrew McMahon.
Andrew McMahon created and that Daniel's been maintaining for us. And when Amy left last fall, between then and like March, there was no maintenance of that document at all. So we took Tanya's report of all the expenditures and Daniel ended up reconciling, looking at it's a very complicated spreadsheet and the Tanya's Munis report and making sure there were matches. And the other agenda item for Tanya is there's 4 questions in that reconciliation. They're all pretty minor that I want to review with Tanya. And then he set up the FY25 section for us, but I'll be able to just maintain that and go in and keep the project pages going, and as purchase orders happen, enter them, and all of that stuff moving forward, I can do instead of paying Daniel to do. So we use Daniel extensively to help us catch up from the 5 months where there was nothing. I was going to try to do it myself. It was just too overwhelming. So he told me it took him a long time. So he reconciled those 2 documents. And now I can move forward. And the other next step with that worksheet is that Jay and I are setting up a meeting for not next week, but I think the following week, where we're going to go through every single project page, because each project from FY19 on has a page in that spreadsheet. But any of the ones that are not officially closed out, just look at them and see. There very well might be additional funds to be had from unexpended dollars on some of those projects.
Yeah. Just to summarize, basically we have 2 ways of tracking our finances. Munis is the primary, and then we have this Excel spreadsheet, which is our backup, our redundancy. And so the reconciliation is just making sure those 2 things are saying the same thing, and they are. So that means that we're presumably
There's 4 things to look at, but yes.
Doing a good job tracking it. And so, and then the other part of that is that some of our older projects, looking through the spreadsheets, have like a remaining balance,
Right.
An allocated but unexpended balance. So we're digging into that, and we're going to go through it project by project to see, some of these are, closed out. Like, has this been accounted for, or can we pull these funds and reallocate them, basically? So we're in that process now, but we just had so many other things we had to get to first, and then also all the finance people in the city are straight out busy right now, so they're not really, as available as they typically are to help us with these sorts of things. Michael.
Jay, that's an awful lot of work. I mean, that's over and above the line of duty. Can't Dan do that? I mean,
You
that's
can.
what we're paying the guy for. That's a lot of work.
For sure, he can, but Naomi's been really coming up to speed on that, and it does take some time, but we're hoping to sort of runway Daniel down, so we're not, he's expensive, and so we're
Also, our
looking.
admin budget's going to be a third less starting next year.
It is. So, we can barely afford to keep him at his same rate and an admin, but I'd like to, I like buffers. You know what I mean? I like some
Oh,
wiggle room, and
no,
so
you're right.
we're,
You're right.
we're sort of winding him down where we can. And Naomi's been on it too, and we're still utilizing Daniel when needed, though, for sure. And I think my plan that I'll put forward moving forward is to keep a relationship with him, but it'll be in a reduced at a reduced level. Essentially, we'd like him to be available if we get stuck, but I don't think we're going to want to rely on him as much. And I feel like Naomi's been really getting a good grasp on that Excel document
Because I'm
that.
still working on it. But the reason we have this separate Excel document is because Munis is so hard to deal with. And the reports from Munis are not at all clear. And it's just the spreadsheet is crystal clear. So it's much easier for us to just stay on top of where we're at with the allocation for each project and the purchase orders and how it's going out and what's left over. The spreadsheet says immediately how much money is left for each grant, all this good stuff that it's hard to get from Eunice.
Well,
Yep.
if you guys are happy with it, then you're happy with it.
Yeah, I think we're in a good spot with it, and I think the goal moving forward, once we, we're sort of checking things off on our list, but down our list of small ways is we'd like to be able to present financial information so it's easily digestible to the committee and allow you to have access to that. So we're sort of just, getting into that as well and trying to, find the best way to do so. So that's our goal is we just
Share
want
the spreadsheet with the
everybody to
full
have.
committee as viewers, that would be
Yes,
fine if people are interested in that.
yes,
Can
absolutely.
we add it to the internal links on the webpage?
Yes, we can. Yes, we
Yeah,
can. And
so the webpage is another discussion. We're not there yet. But I do want to say that the match for FY26 from the state is also low. Our budget is reduced and the match is down to 15.9% for communities with a surcharge of less than 3%. There are 70 communities in the state that do the full 3%, and if you do the full 3%, you get more money. They take 80% of the full trust fund for that fiscal year and divide it proportionately. And then the other 20%, there's around 2 and around 3 of distribution of that funding, and it only goes to communities with a 3% surcharge.
yes,
So,
can I make one
um,
comment too while it's on my mind? I don't want to forget is Andrew McMahon is our former member of our committee who actually created this
I'm chair.
spreadsheet for us. So we had the bright idea. We said let's call Andrew and see what he knows about this subject. And he couldn't have been more pleasant and available to help us. And so Naomi and he set up a Zoom meeting and they went over some stuff. And we've kind of made that contact with Andrew. So we're going to continue if we have questions about, finance stuff or just historical CPA stuff. We're gonna, we have that contact with Andrew, and we appreciated that. I thought that was pretty cool. So, yeah.
Can
So
I ask
that's
a question about the 13 and was it 13 and 33 that was on the first slide that was shared?
uh third. Yes, 13 and 33 was the state match excess and the intake from the tax
Right.
surcharge. Yep.
So I totally agree that the money that's underneath the interest, that's already general fund money. We can expend it at will.
Mhm.
It's my understanding that we can't expend the other two lines there
Okay.
until it's been approved by council because it was never put in our budget
Okay. Okay.
for the year.
Okay. Um. Okay.
I wish it wasn't the case, but
Yep. Yep.
Could
like
we
we
look,
could have, the reason why we had access to the difference last year is because we submitted a budget amendment to
Okay.
council saying, I know we already submitted our budget, but here's actually an updated version of that. And that's how we got access to that funding, was doing that,
Okay.
which we could choose to do this year if we wanted to.
Yes,
But it's very late in the year to do so.
it is. It is. Mary, I saw your hand up.
Oh, yeah. I was just here trying to figure out how to do reactions. Anyway, so that the first question was answered by Megan. You said that we could do that. So should we make a motion tonight? And secondly, can we lose that money potentially?
No, 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 no.
So
It's-
wait, if so,
It
city
normally, this is just the whatever the difference is, because again, like, the surcharge is coming in, and we will always want to conservatively estimate it because it could come in lower than you think, right? And so it's just that, there usually is a difference between what we say in our budget and what we actually end up accruing or getting from the state. And that just gets rolled into the next year's budget.
Okay.
should we make a motion tonight, or is it, or are we not clear on it yet?
Well, what happens if we don't? Does it just go into our FY26 budget, or
Mhm.
do we
Or-
want to try to do that?
It
Or
goes
does it
into
go-
it goes into the general fund next year.
Well, I wonder if just because of the timing of it. I mean, it's mid-May now. By the time we get it in front of the council and questions asked and answered, it may be past
Well, that's why
July.
it's normally included the next year. Like
Yeah.
FY26 starts in 2 months, less than
If it-
2 months.
But if it goes to the general fund, it's gone from us.
No, it goes
No,
to
it's
us.
our general
Our
fund.
general fund.
General fund.
Okay.
Oh, our.
We have a general fund.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Remember, 'cause we have the housing fund, historic, fund, and the Parks and Rec open space fund, and then there's the general fund.
And an admin fund.
Yes,
Yes. Yes. So,
most importantly.
yep.
There's five funds that we have.
And honestly, it's not a bad thing to have $46,000 ish, 47 rolling over, because next year is going to be really low. It's going to feel pretty shocking to have a third less of the budget than we're used to having.
Right?
Yeah, I mean it's likely though the whole 122 will just be rolled into FY26. I wonder. But
Mhm.
yeah, all this money is and will remain CPA money. It's just a matter of sort of the process of it and making sure that we're getting council approval for things as well, because they are our they are our appointing body, at least mine, and they oversee this committee. So yeah, were there any other questions or comments on that? It's sort of like a dense conversation. But I think we're on top of it. I think we've been been very good, frankly, at asking for help and receiving help. And people are very willing too, when you just throw some pleases and thank yous out there, and it works wonders. So agenda item
Months in, and
2E.
it's hard to play the new card anymore, but I still
Yes,
feel
yeah,
very
yeah.
new.
We do our best to play it still.
Yeah.
You're new for a year.
Thank you,
Yes.
Mary. I'll take that. Yep.
Yes. Agenda item 2E, the small grants program. So this is, I just want to have a discussion about it. I don't know if we need to take an action item. We could, but in the past we had, and Meg can probably explain this better than I can. And probably it is, it was a program essentially that any project under $3,000 was almost pre-authorized by the city council, so we could approve it without having to go and ask them a second time. Typically, we receive a presentation, we vote up or down on it, and then send it to the council with a detailed description of what the project is. So in the small grants program, my understanding is that it was for smaller projects under $3,000, where the council would essentially say, we're going to give you permission to allocate these funds without needing further council approval. And which I thought was a great idea, but I think Meg said in practice that they just weren't getting a lot of applicants or interest in the program. But we have actually had some interest recently. We've gotten a couple, one historical person just reached out and kind of said, I know you used to have this program and I'm interested. I have a couple of projects.
Jay, you're frozen. I don't know if you know that.
Project reach out as well, asking about the program. So, am I frozen? Can everybody hear me?
Now we
There you
can.
Oh my good.
You're back.
Okay. Sorry about
We
that.
never got a single person who applied for small grants. And
Yeah.
we did it for, I think, 2 or 3 cycles. We thought we'll put this out there. And, I think initially, early on, the committee really assumed that regular citizens would also be interested in putting forward projects. And so, and that hasn't happened. It's been very much like, the regular players who are looking for funding are the ones who are coming to us. It's like city departments or as folks who are working for nonprofits who are used to doing this kind of thing. But we imagined early on that someone might say like, man, my park really needs 2 new benches. And like, you know, go get a quote for 2 benches and like put in an application and say like, well, my neighborhood has raised, $500. Can CPA kick in the other, 3,000, we assumed some kind of tiny projects like that, would come forward and they just didn't. I think we attempted to get the word out, but I think it really didn't get out. I don't think, regular people ever understood this was sort of more geared towards them. Um, and so it just didn't go anywhere. So anyway, there's a link in the chat just so that you can see what the application looked like at the time. The goal was to make it a streamlined, smaller process, because the goal was that these would be typically more applicants, not municipal, right? But more, regular people, or nonprofit, folks who would be looking for kind of these smaller things. And so they would need more handholding. They would need more support to know how to do it. They would need a simpler process. They would be freaked out by kind of things having to go to council. That would feel like, who am I to ask for that? They may not want to do a public presentation, may not be in their wheelhouse. And so like, let's make it simple. Let's kind of do that legwork for them. We'll get money from council for us to be in charge of that process, and then we'll handle it completely within committee. We can invite them in, ask them some questions and say, yeah, you're great. Here you go. And here's help we can help you if you need to find quotes. Like we imagined the committee would be owning more of the legwork and making it more of an accessible process. So the other thing though, is if we have people reaching out to us who are really municipal, who are like, is this a way I could get folks in between funding cycles? Like
Mhm.
that to me is not really
Was
what
the
this is
intent.
for, and this still has to go to council. It still has to be approved, for them to say, here's this fund that we're kind of putting in this trust, this like program that the committee is then going to have autonomy over.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, yeah, I think in practice, if we were to have such a program, it would likely be smaller projects of typical applicants. You might see a park and rec plaque. We did one at Veterans Park, which I think was $2,000. So you could see things like that. The community garden application was 3,000, and the other historical applicant that I got was Eileen from, or just she had reached out. Eileen from the historical room in the Holyoke Public Library. I'm
Yeah,
not remembering her
that's right.
last name. Crosby, is it Eileen Crosby? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. So, I said I wanted to bring it forward, especially agenda item 2F, is the community garden had reached out. I can sort of, if it's all right with everyone, loop that in as well. And they had said, we're looking to get our garden funded. We're looking to do so in this growing cycle. They had applied for funding in our last cycle, but were deemed ineligible. If you recall, they had the composting application. So what I had suggested to them is that they said that they planned to apply for our next funding cycle, FY26. So I asked them to submit an eligibility application with the thought that we'll have to go through that process with them anyway. And if we wanted to do so sooner, we would be able to. it's a lot of work too. I don't know if folks are up to it at the moment, or if we have really a motivation to do so out of cycle. But I just wanted to bring the information forward and have a discussion about it. Mary?
Yeah, when they applied that on the on the the big round, we did send it to Stuart, and he clearly said it was ineligible. I don't remember the reason off the top of my head, but I don't know.
Land ownership.
What? Oh, okay.
It
They
wasn't
didn't own the
around, did they
land.
own the land? It says that neighbor does own the land. Do they own the
Yeah.
land?
Well, I think it
Like,
was
just because
also,
you control the garden doesn't mean you own the land. So I would want to clarify ownership here, but also Stuart's main concern is that he said that land had to be conserved. It had to be parkland. It had to be conservation land. It had to be one or the two. It couldn't be private land.
yep. And I think also it was a composting wasn't considered recreational enough to meet our standards. I think that
Oh,
was part of
right.
it. Whereas this is a different application. So,
You
it's a
said
number.
composting could be included if it was related to community gardening,
Yeah, and it has to be permanent. It's a
and it had to be
tricky.
permanent on passive recreation land. This isn't passive recreation land. I know that Naomi's got her hand up and she's wanting to talk.
Just
Yes,
wanted to
yes.
say that
Yeah.
I did reach out to Stuart around this particular project, even though we didn't think we'd be able to fund it this summer. I reached out to him and shared the information. He said it was 100% eligible. No
Well,
problem.
yes. Well,
Oh, yeah.
as a as a
Ow.
type of application, but I think
No, he said that what they were asking for was eligible under CPA.
Even though it's private land,
No, the community garden thing.
it's private land though.
Private
Uh,
land.
I don't know about he didn't mention the private land. Actually, I have
Ask him
his.
about that because this is
And when we did it the
just
other
confirm
round,
that.
I will forward you his email to me with his response. But he thought, and then when I was at the last networking meeting, we talked about community gardens, and there are a lot of CPA funded community gardens in Massachusetts.
well, I think
You,
I think I think it makes the point though that the eligibility is complex with this, and I think that's why I'd like to consider us accepting this eligibility application and maybe begin to sort through some of these unanswered questions. I think it can be unclear. I think it's one of the more confusing things, but I think also that it's a good opportunity for the committee to really uh, make an
Mhm.
impact. I mean, a community garden is relative to some of our other projects less expensive. So we could, if we were able to sort through some of these issues and come up with some sort of a system for it, it'd be a process that we might be able to replicate and really stretch dollars and make an impact. So I think that was the discussion. Is I just wanted to sort of bring this thought of a small grants program forward. I don't know if it's appropriate to act on it tonight. I think it's something that we want to digest for a little bit more time and sort of, maybe we'll have a thought tomorrow or the day after, and we can send some emails. I
We'll
would like to
follow up.
propose that we accept the community garden eligibility application, just with the thought that it's very complicated, and that we can, if the committee is amenable to the work of it, sort of get started on sorting through some of those concerns that we have, and see
I,
where we
I'll,
end up.
I'll make the motion, but I think we have to be careful. I don't think we want to just, oh, go ahead, Naomi, you can go first.
Just wanted to mention that I just looked at Stuart's answer, which I'll send out piggybacking Jay emailed this eligibility form, and I'll just piggyback on that and send Stuart's answer. But community gardens are under recreation, not open space.
But that's why I thought they had to be under parkland. Like I thought he was so clear about that the last round. So if that's wrong, great. We just basically need to get that clarified under Stuart.
Yeah, I'll send what he said.
Yeah.
And you'll see it.
Well, and I think, yeah.
So if I make a motion, I don't want to say that we're going to accept it. That sounds, in the other round, we said something was accepted. That was like a big step for people. I don't think we want to give any false hope. So I think I'd like to say that we will take it under consideration.
Receive it like the city council does.
Okay, receive it. Yeah, that sounds good. Receive it and take it under consideration for the next, to gather information for the next meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like perhaps if they were willing, the eligibility subcommittee to receive that and to have the ability to sort of dig into that if they so wished. Is that
I
reasonable?
thought we were dissolved. I thought we were dissolved after we were absolved the last time around.
You're needed.
Yes, I said, who can I pin this on? I said,
Oh,
On the eligibility subcommittee.
I think the eligibility subcommittee here forward is Naomi.
could be.
You make a good core chair, Mayor. Give it
Maybe.
up. You'll be good at it.
Well, we could also just not take an official action. I mean, we do have the application, and we could just, kind of go from there and see where we end up and have a discussion about it next month as well.
mhm.
We don't need to act on anything, but we do have the application, and I'd like folks to just start sending some concerns. I like to have answers to these questions and make sure that we know what we're doing, because it's
Yeah.
it's tricky, and I think we can be forgiven for not understanding every aspect of it. So, but yeah, that was the update on that. Were there any other questions or concerns, thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, Naomi, was the steward, did he say was his point of reference public lands that
Again.
that these community gardens were being planted and built upon? Were they like the city of, or any city's public lands, or was it private land? In other words, if you had a backyard, a big backyard, and you own the land, could you still be eligible for these funds?
So what he said here is that the application they submitted is for the construction materials. And he said that this is a rehabilitation capital improvement expense. And then he cites the definitions. And then he said community gardens are a recreational asset. Doesn't matter if you originally constructing the asset with CPA funds or rehabilitating.
No, we're not
Allowable in the
rehabilitating.
recreation doesn't say anything about it doesn't say anything about owning the land.
Well,
Oh,
and
at the
then
end, at the
there's
very end, he said, since this is a privately owned asset, you'll want to execute a proper grant agreement with the organization, and we would do that anyway.
yeah, and
Again, I'll
also,
share this with you.
and we may want that ourselves. We may say, we don't feel comfortable funding if it's not if the land's not locked down. We may. So just a lot of things to think about. And I think, they will be submitting an application likely for the full cycle. So I just, like I said, I wanted to bring that forward and get folks thinking about it, and I look forward to any feedback.
I mean, I have
Agenda,
to. Oh, sorry.
no,
I was just
please,
going to
please, sir.
say, I have to believe that, other cities have probably looked at using CPA funds for community gardens. It might be worth it to just do, a quick search on other cities' use of CPA funds, see if there's any information available on maybe some of their projects, or reaching out to some of those committees just to kind of see how they handled it.
I agree. If we
Sarah,
could
we
find an
did
apples to
discuss
apples
it.
comparison, it would be nice.
There's a monthly meeting of the admins, and the community gardens came up last month. And but I didn't do a deep dive like you're describing, but it's really easy to just directly work with this subcommittee, and everyone shares all the resources and talks about their experience.
Yeah,
So
Awesome.
I can follow up with that, is what I'm saying.
yeah.
Beautiful.
More
Thank you.
discuss. So agenda item 2G, we have general admin updates. I don't know, were there any that we haven't
It was the
covered
website.
aside from the website? That's number I. So we can just move on to agenda item 2I, which is just the advice about the website, and then also perhaps you want to discuss the conversation we had the other day about it with
Yep.
the city and such.
So at this same meeting I'm describing that I go to every single month, it's a really, really good resource. It's all the admins in the state. It's usually got between 8 and 12 people attending, and they rotate, and there's 3 or 4 of us that go religiously. A few months ago, I asked about what they did for websites, because I've been struggling with our website, which needs so much work. It just needs so much updating. And the strong advice from Roberta, and then it was seconded by other people. Roberta, I forget her last name. She's from Somerville. She wrote our CPA plan in 2018. What is it? Cameron? Thank you. And she's the one that started by saying she strongly recommended not having a separate website. And the reasons being that the first reason was security, that municipal websites tend to have lots and lots of firewalls and are better protected than just a standalone website. So that was one issue. The second issue is that when it's part of the city website, it typically gets more traffic, because if someone was looking for information on the CPA, they'd go to the city website. And there is a link, but you wouldn't find much about CPA on the city website at all. And so you get more traffic. And then the third one, which is really compelling to me, is that we don't have to host our own, and we don't have to work with our consultant's great. I have no complaints about our consultant, but we don't have to pay a consultant. Jeffrey is our consultant. And what he does for all the city departments is he teaches them. Every department manages their own pages, and he teaches them how to manage it. And then he's there as a resource if needed, if we have questions. So following that conversation at the networking meeting, I reached out to Jeffrey, and he and I met. And I asked him these questions about the website, and he said he would be happy to help us migrate. He would happy to help us organize a new page. He suggested that we do it in July, because that's when city council doesn't meet, and that's when he has some time. He didn't think it would be that hard. He was very encouraging. So
Beautiful.
yeah, so I personally have been convinced that it makes sense to switch to the city website. And then I was further convinced today when I spent an hour and a half and I uploaded the 2 projects that have been with the contract signed. And on the back end, it says they're in the FY25 project category, and they're published, and they don't show up on the front page. I'm going to have to ask Joanne why or what to do. I've troubleshot, I've looked up the help videos, I've done, and again, it's just it's a waste of time, and you're paying me and by the hour, and
Yeah, I think just the general discussion was that we have the opportunity, if we would like to have our website be part of the city website. You go to the city, you can go to the city council page, you can go to the DPW page, you can go to the Holyoke Historical Commission page, and the CPA could exist in that format if we wanted. I think the money is definitely, it's not a ton of money. Honestly, Joanne's very affordable. She's very responsive, and it is some money though. So, we're talking about hundreds of dollars, though not thousands of dollars, but it's money, it's taxpayer money. And I think we always want to be tight where we can. But I think for me, the thing I wouldn't say I'm convinced, but I'm thinking of it is that, the amount of traffic, I think, and interest that we get to the website might be increased. I think it's been pretty, pretty low lately, and we certainly want people to have access to the committee. And I think if you're going to the city website and we're part of it, that might help. But we wanted to have a discussion about it and see what folks thought. Michael?
Jay, all the reasons you said, I think we should transition to the city website. We're part of the city. I mean, why should we have our own? Why don't we go right with the city and like everybody else? And as Megan and Naomi has pointed out, those folks that are there for other reasons could stumble upon what we're doing. Just stumble upon us. And if it's cheaper to run, it's easier on Naomi, and it's the advice is relatively free from the city person to help us. Let's do it. There's no really reason, by definition, why we should be independent. I mean, let's go with the city like everybody else.
Mary and then Meg.
I agree with, especially in regards to the money and the time and the exposure that we would get. But the only thing I'm thinking of is none of the other websites have some of the fancy stuff that we have. So, for example, At one point, there was a thing on there about the, how much CPA do you contribute? And you were able to link in and get that. Would we still be able to do that? Also, there were a lot of videos that were done that Megan did and had done that were great for information on there. And I don't see that kind of thing on any of the other city websites. Would we still be able to do that? I like those things. The other city websites don't have a separate thing for the members of the board. And I like that about ours. So would we be able to do those things? Those are my questions.
Very good questions, and I can follow up with Jeffrey on them. But what he told me is that the city websites are pretty simple, but you can always link to other things. So we might not put it, I don't know if we'll be, I'll have to ask him if we'll be able to put that tax calculator or like Megan's map. That's a really good thing. But
Yes.
you can link to it. So, but I'll ask Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Those are good questions.
Meg?
I mean, if you look at our website, like this is the Holyoke website. It's very stripped down. It's basically created as like a blog. If you go into somebody's, I don't know, the historical commission, where are they? If you go into any of these, like you'll find that there's a banner up top with a picture that you get to pick, and then there's text. And like that's what's here is it's text, right? Like, and all of them are set up the same way. So ours would look like this. And we'd have to be okay with that. It would be easier in a lot of ways, because it would be like really stripped down. And our website, I totally agree with you. I'm not the only one here who's also done what you've done. It's not easy. I'm also like in the meantime, whatever we decide in the transition, like I'm happy to help. I've done it many times. It's not always pretty or pleasant. I have like my very detailed cheat sheet of like how to handle the fact that it's Joomla. It's not a plug and play website. We at one point looked at whether or not it made sense to shift to something like Google Sites. The problem with this is that it's very basic, and you'll notice that like anyone who like really wants a nice website, it's linking to an external website. Now, why we're not here, that's just silliness. Why is our website not linking in here? Just like ASG&E, they're not using the Holyoke website. They've got their own. They're just like linked in, right? Like we definitely should be, I think. But like right now, like our Holyoke CPA website looks really different than those city websites, and it has a lot more functionality because we can embed things in our page. Is it a pain to update? Sure. But I do think that in general, it's a lot more appealing and visual than what the other websites look like. And unlike, it's so, I don't know. Our group is also different. We're a surcharge, right? Like we function differently than other city departments who aren't like trying to sell what they're doing to the public.
Right.
So I do think that we need to be thoughtful too about like what helps us to share what we do with the taxpayers as much as possible.
Yep.
Well, Megan, can we
In the meantime, for sure, like Naomi, please ask them to like, why are we not up there? Why is our website not linked in? What the heck?
Yeah, can I make a suggestion?
Page linked, yes.
I would make a suggestion that I think we would all agree on is that it would be nice if we had our own little section on the city website, but at the moment, perhaps we could maintain our current website and sort of see how we like it and see if we want to, we could do essentially it would be the HG&E version, and then we could see if we want to get rid of our own.
HG&E has like their own website, like we have our own website.
Yeah, so we would keep our own website, add the city version linked to our website. So we're up there, perhaps that would drive traffic a little bit more. And then over the next few months, sort of look into the situation and see if we want to, make any changes to that. Would that sound reasonable?
Yeah, it does, Mr. Chairman. But for my own clarification, Megan, would the problem be solved if we linked onto the city website, us, and we maintain, like the G&E does, our own website. Does that solve the problems just simply by getting linked? Just by
No, I think
linking us.
what Naomi is saying is that it's a Joomla website. It requires like some coding understanding. It requires it's not easy. It's not Google Sites. It's not plug and play. It's not easy. And also it does require like often when I am making updates to the website, and I haven't in the past year, but when I did all the entire website for 3 years in a row, like um it would require me like coming up with issues like that, and I don't know what I'm doing. So I would like email Joanne. Joanne is like super responsive and often would do stuff for free. She would just be like,
Yes.
yeah, I'll hop on with you. I'll show you what's going on. Click, click, click. Now you're good. It did take partnering with her to make the website work. But I always found her very responsive and very, I mean, like she could charge us a lot more than she's charging us. Even when we totally rehauled our website, she
Yep.
was like, sure, $500. We were like, what?
Yeah,
And
no,
she
she's
just
very
like
good.
did it basically as a gift. You know what I mean? Like she's been
It's up
great.
to you guys. Do whatever you want, whatever you feel
Yeah,
like.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I like the idea of having the bare bones representation within the city website and linking to a fancier website.
Yeah.
That would solve that
Let's take a
traffic
baby
problem.
step. Let's take
And
a
it would
baby step
also
and do that.
help with the security issues, because that was a big topic of conversation, that independent websites are more vulnerable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
perfect. All right.
We
Mr.
also
Chairman,
don't
do
have
you
an
want?
IT manager. Like that's the other thing that
Yeah,
like we've
right.
been trying to like our IT, it's not easy. It is not easy. Like it is like a contract services. They're universally sort of despised across the city in terms of how not responsive they are. Um, and there's no one who's like the Holyoke person who's like working to coordinate it with this company. Like they're right now trying to figure out like, is there something else we could do long term to make this more functional? Um, because we just don't have our own in-house IT person who's really making sure that these things work. And like Jeffrey is a saint, but also we pay him pennies. And like, can we rely on like that person always existing to be there to like go way above and beyond and do lots of free labor? Like I don't know if we can count on that long term.
He said it basically fell into his lap when the other IT guy left.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Okay,
Are we
this
ready
is
to
good.
move on to agenda item 3? I think so. Preservation Plan Subcommittee approval slash creation. So I think Meg and Naomi may be able to offer a lot more context to this, but in general, the preservation plan is sort of the template that we use, where the citizens of Holyoke are able to come out and say, this is what we want from you. This is what we want to see. We want more of this, less of this. This specific park is important to me. This specific project's important. It's an opportunity for the city to have their say on the CPA, and we want to update that. It's been a little while since it's been updated, and I think the timing seems right for it. Um, so I'd been talking, Naomi had brought the idea forward. It had been discussed over the last few months, but Naomi had brought forward. She said, "I think the time now that we're through our FY25 cycle, I think the timing is appropriate for us to focus on this." And I think she's exactly right. I think what we're looking to
Jay and I
do,
were
what I'm
talking
looking to
about
do.
it, and without having any external communication, Meg, like 2 days later, sent out an email going, "Hey, let's update the plan." So go,
Yeah.
Meg.
Yeah,
There's something in
so
the water.
I think
Literally.
what I'd like to do is create a subcommittee to handle this. I think it's a lot of work. I love to create subcommittees, and so we can move forward in sort of an organized way and thoughtful way, because I think it deserves our attention and I think our focus. So I Meg has volunteered to lead such a committee, and I think that would be I think that would be the best thing for us. She's got a lot of experience. She and Michael, of course, have been on the committee the longest, and Meg as chair. And it's just a lot of work as well. So I know that you're very busy, Meg, and I appreciate your willingness to still get into the nitty gritty for the CPA and do some work for us, because It's a lot. I think our thought in general is that we'll host some public meetings, perhaps have some surveys, um, and just really try to engage as much as possible and really get an accurate idea of what folks want and really representative of our entire city. So um, yeah, if Naomi or Meg would want to expand on that a little bit, and then we could perhaps have a discussion about creating a subcommittee.
The only
I
thing
mostly
I will
just
say is that we've been told over and over again, you're supposed to update your plan every year. It's a legal requirement. And if you're not doing it, that's bad. So, and I just heard that again from Stuart at a meeting. And I'll say that we had a special networking meeting about plan updates and development. And the biggest part of it is gathering the public input. And that's where the labor is. And that's the most important part, making sure that the plan reflects what the public wants.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah,
Meg?
I think it'd be interesting for folks just to weigh in around like where you think we should be doing public outreach. It happened originally in the 2018 plan, um, like a little haphazardly. I think it happened at the senior center, and then I think there might have been another event later on, but it sort of skewed to like one slice of the Holyoke population. So as we seek to update it, maybe everyone can think about like where is one space that you're connected personally, where we could do some outreach, and that could be like an event that you run, could be a basketball tournament, could be an event that always happens at X, or here's this great community meal that happens here. I don't know, like just different spaces where we could go and effectively just kind of give a quick brief and brilliant and then like ask folks to fill out a short survey. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, or even just do like tabling. Do you know what I mean? Like even just going around and asking questions and like a lot of the information that's in the appendix, that's like the biggest thing that we have to update. It's very anecdotal. It's literally like just asking people, so what do you think it should be? And then writing it down and it ends up in this appendix that's like, here's what people said they wanted, right? So we just need to look for what those opportunities are so that it's a good mix of sections of the city, young people, old people, people with families. Like I think it has to include a wide variety of stakeholders and interests.
Yeah, and it's in our interest. I mean, it's you know that's the public support's going to be based on how well we're serving, and I think if we know what people want, we'll go about doing it, and we'll be our work will be well received. So if you're interested in serving on this committee, please reach out to me, and I can set that up. Certainly, I'll be doing a tremendous amount of work on that as well. And it's going to be our focus in the coming months to try to do a good job on this and be effective. I would like to just make an official recommendation or motion, I should say, that we create the preservation plan subcommittee, and that I, as chair, will appoint the members of that subcommittee, with my plan of having Meg as the chair of that committee. Is there a second to that, or under discussion, I might say?
Second.
Any thoughts? Okay. I'm just going to do a roll call vote on that one, please. Michael,
Yes,
Meg, yes. Helene,
Yes.
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Maribel,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
and Jason, yes. So we have created, I think this is my third subcommittee I've created as chair. Another subcommittee to focus on the preservation plan, and I will appoint those members within a week or so, and that committee can get to work. And we will focus on making sure we're sharing information. I want everybody to feel invited to participate. If you've got an idea, let us know. Whether you're on the subcommittee or not, everybody's welcome to join in on that. And we really, like I said, we want to really make sure we're getting as accurate of a sample as we can of our city. So I appreciate that.
Agenda has links to two articles from the coalition that
Perfect. Yeah, and if
are helpful.
yeah, Naomi, just as we get information too, if we come across anything useful, let's make sure to get that out to the committee
Yep.
because I just want folks to be able to really dig in and get some ideas on that. Thank you so much. So agenda item number 4, fire update from Tom Shea. Everybody got my pictures that I sent out of the fire truck. So that Tom's really motoring along on that one, no pun intended. And he had been delayed briefly because the gentleman that was doing the body work had a setback, but he's back working on it. Tom anticipates the body work to be completed by August, and he said after that, that's the bulk of the remaining work. He said after that we'll be able to really put it together and have it roll in hopefully by the fall. So he's been very responsive. We've been communicating via text. So I have I think I sent 10 pictures to the committee. I have about 40 of them. They're all versions of the same pictures that I sent, but if anyone's interested in more detail or just wants to know about it, please reach out. I'll be happy to send those along.
Is there a way to make that available on the current website?
Yeah, we could. I mean, I think what I'm hopeful for is that it'll be completed in a couple of months and we'll be able to put that up on the website. That was my thought, but because at the moment it's still sort of in pieces a little bit, some of the wood's off of it and the chrome and such, but yeah. So agenda item number 5, just a couple of updates. Jones Point, I so much wanted to have the survey done by this meeting. Ty and Bond, I think we'll most certainly have it done by next meeting, and we'll have a detailed budget on that. So we'll be able to update. But good news is that they're on schedule. The playground has been ordered, and what was once a 20-week lead time is down to like 4 or 5 weeks. So the playground may be in, soon, sometime in the summer, early summer, and with some luck, the rest of the project could be completed by the fall. Glow Tech is also ahead of schedule. Again, we're anticipating a 20-week lead time. That's been the case on our previous projects, and that was Tom's projection. But again, it's here. They already have that. So the Glow Tech could be in again sometime early summer. It's a much more basic project compared to Jones Point. It's just sort of swapping out playgrounds rather than where at Jones Point there's going to be a basketball court, there's some frontage, there's the walking path, and then the playground. So Jones Point's just a bit more complex. For those who don't know, I'm not sure if I share this. Tom Reynolds has moved on to another position, so he's not the director of Park and Rec anymore. I have heard through the grapevine that there are some really, really, really good applicants, several really good applicants that they're excited about to take over for Tom. So we'll see how that plays out in the coming months. But in the interim, it seems like Victoria will be our point person for these projects. Who we know from, we've done a number of things with Victoria, and I like Victoria. She does a great job. She's very responsive and very professional and and thorough and does a nice job. So I'm anticipating that'll be a smooth transition for us, and certainly I'll keep everybody updated as things change with that. But I think with some luck we may have both of those in this year. Mary.
Were the issues resolved in regards to, the wetlands and conservation and all that and permitting?
We'll need the survey, I think, for that.
Oh, I see. So you're just saying
Yeah.
the survey is almost ready and then you'll do that.
Right, and that'll be the next step. And so, yes, so and I thought we might have it by now, and I was really hoping we did, but we just do not have it. And they are working on it, and they've made progress. So, but yeah, we should have a good amount of update on Jones Point next meeting. So some action items will likely be on the agenda, and yeah. But I feel good about it. I feel like we've gotten a hold of things that were making me nervous. I feel like we're on top of things, and Naomi's been great to work with. She's keeping me on task too. She has a email that she sends me that says nudge nudge, which means like I'm sleeping on some things that I need to get done. So she's our work rapport has been good. So but yeah. Were there any other questions or comments about anything we talked about, Michael?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is for you and Naomi and Megan. Do you all, in your travels through Amy's old office at City Hall, ever come off any boxes of the original publication of our 2018 pamphlet, the cover that Naomi, you put on the website, our first publication? It's about 60 pages long. I thought I had remembered that we had a number of extra copies. We had so many printed, but I was hoping that Mr. Chairman or Naomi or Megan would remember or come across going through Amy's old office or anybody's old office. They may have a couple of cartons of these publications, which is the original publication that we produced back in 2018, that it would be handy to have as a guide, if nothing else, for the folks in the subcommittee to use as a point of reference, make life a lot easier.
For sure.
So
I believe, is that we have that on the website? Is that the same document?
Yeah, it's on the website and I have it electronically in Amy's old files.
Yes, we have it electronically, and I can check actually our office. We sort of temporarily vacated the office for now.
Okay.
They had requested the space because they were having some issues in other parts of the city. But that
Okay.
closet, Michael, and you remember when we went to do those books? Remember that day it was snowing? We went to you and Naomi met to do those books. There's that closet there with a whole bunch of different things in there. So I go through City Hall often enough. I'll make a point to go up and see if we have any of those because I'd like to take a look and
Do
just
that.
have one.
I can do that, Jason.
Yeah, for sure. Perhaps we
Yeah.
could go to.
Okay.
Yeah, that was all I had. I don't know if anybody had any other things that they wanted to bring up while we're all here, Mary.
Well, you know what, I was actually thinking that the, what did you call it? The eligibility committee was done. And then you mentioned it tonight. So, I mean, what happened? I mean, I'm hoping it's done, but okay. So,
Yeah,
but
no, we can revisit that. I think, I think
we don't have to.
yeah.
I need help.
For sure.
I'll do it, but I'm going to need help.
For sure. Yeah, let's think about it. We'll think about it. I think you may be right though, Mary. I'd have to go through the notes, but I think you in my mind it was a continuous thing, but now that you mention it, I think you may be right. So we'll have to dig into the details and see about that. But yeah.
Okay.
Good point. And then our next meeting is just going to be the second Wednesday as usual. Looking at my calendar now would be June 12th. I'm sorry, June 11th. It would be June 11th if that works for everybody at 6 o'clock. And one thing too, I wanted to mention, I do apologize to everybody. I know we got spammed last meeting in March. It was quite awkward. And, I don't know how that happened to us or what we might do, but I do apologize that happened. I think I don't want to say it upset me, but I think if you rewatch, it really scattered me for the first like half hour of that meeting. It was such a strange thing. So we'll do our best to avoid that, and I do apologize that happened to us. But if there aren't any other questions or comments, we could adjourn the meeting, and we'll see everybody in June. And please, I would just remind, if you're interested in being on that subcommittee, please reach out and we'll get to work. So thank you again. Appreciate everybody.
Okay,
Thank you.
guys.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
You.